Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Plunge podcast. My name is Noni Mugera, and it is such a pleasure to be here today and to be back with season two, where we'll be deep diving into conversations that matter surrounding better mental health, self development, healing, and transformation. My name is Noni Mugera, and I am a journalist, podcaster, and musician. And I'm super duper excited to be back. I don't know if y'all have been seeing all the amazing and beautiful jacaranda flowers blooming all over Nairobi, all across the city. Like they're so pretty, they're so beautiful. I've been seeing people taking pictures of them on Instagram. So if you see one or if you happen to spot one, purple is actually the brand color for the Plunge podcast. And so I feel like the onset of jacaranda flowers blooming in the Nairobi fall is a great sign that we are literally right on track for season two. Season two is going to be a very intimate experience. I'm going to be deep diving into topics surrounding therapy, better mental health, healing, self development, and transformation. And actually, recently, I came across this term from one of my favorite pastors, Michael Todd. He has an amazing book out called Damaged, Not Destroyed. And what he says is that what is not healed or transformed is transferred. And so we don't want to transfer any traumas or any triggers to any other people. If you're hurt and you don't heal your heart, you're going to transfer your heart to someone else. So we don't want to do that. So this season is going to be deeply, deeply, like we are deep in the trenches. I feel like season one, I was a little like surface level, also trying to get my bearings on what podcasting is all about. But season two, I am back with a bang. All right. Episode one, we're going to be talking about, and it's a topic that so many people have asked me, how have you been able to do this? And we're going to deep dive into it. And it's basically how to leave your corporate 9 to 5 to pursue your passion unapologetically. And here's the thing, career transitions require emotional preparedness. So are you ready? You know? Um, I'm gonna take it way back to like my younger years. I always knew that I wanted to be a journalist, always knew from the onset that I wanted to be a musician. But somewhere along my career path, somewhere along going to campus, somewhere along my parents spending so much money on my education, and I thank them for that. They gave me an amazing, brilliant education. But somewhere along those lines, I lost that passion, that zeal, that self confidence that I needed and that I required to follow and pursue my creative journey and my creative self. And so, also at the time, I remember when I was fresh from campus, I had just finished a journalistic internship. I'm not going to say where, but it was like the top TV station in Kenya. I was an intern there for quite a while, I would say 8 months. And then basically, my editor said, Lisa, we don't have space for you in the media industry, but when there's space, we're going to call you back. And so I was like, I'm not going to be top of my class, graduated top of my class, this dope ass intern at a leading broadcasting TV station. And then now I'm jobless. I wasn't going to have that at all. Also, my siblings were killing it in their careers. My brother like has an amazing corporate job. My sister has an amazing corporate job. My parents had an amazing career. So I wasn't going to be literally the black sheep of the family. So, I've always been what's it called? Manifesting ever since I even knew what the word manifesting was or what it even meant. But I just knew I was destined for great. So I said, okay, fine. Since when you go to USIU, you get like a double like a, what is it called? A double major degree, which basically allows you to do one thing and then major in something else. So my major was journalism, but then I also had done marketing and PR. But I basically did it just to graduate. I never even, it was just like a box, like I had to tick for me to graduate so that I can go on and become the best Lillian Mooley that, I possibly could be, right? Wrong. Marketing is actually what came knocking at my door. And I ended up working in a very, very top logistics organization that all of you know it, yellow in color. And it was my first experience working as a marketing assistant. And I was literally handling like an entire country. Like I was handling marketing for Kenya. And it was just so out of my league that I was like, what in the world am I doing? I'm meant to be like going for gigs, performing, singing. I'm meant to be on TV, but here I am, um, literally planning PR campaigns and media tours for the CEO and leadership team. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do this for a couple years, 1, 2 years, just to have a bearing, just to have a footing in. And then after that, I'm gonna go back to my passion. But then I feel like I kind of fumbled with marketing and I ended up being so good at it that I ended up working in agency. And then I joined agency with one of the top like leading. Remember, I've always been like a perfectionist in everything I do. So I said, if I'm going to be in marketing, then I might as well work for top organizations. So I end up in a bespoke marketing agency. And this is literally like the fanciest organization I've ever been to because we used to handle like my clients were like the top coffee shops in Nairobi, top alcoholic brands, like bespoke restaurants, hotels. Like literally my life was a movie. But then remember at the back of my mind, I was working with influencers and musicians and I'm like I'm giving them, the paid, especially when paid partnership came in like on social media. Like I was the one giving them the hookup when I'm like, no, 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 it should be the other way around. I should be the one speaking to an account manager at an agency to get the paid partnership with or by. But I was literally the behind the scenes, right? And I said, okay, fine. I'm going to do this just for a little while. And then when I get my money right, I'm going to leave. And then COVID hit. Um, and I think during COVID is when I think I was by myself. There's a time I was by myself because, my parents had relocated back to Embu, which is basically where I come from. And I was literally left in like a whole 3 bedroom apartment by myself. Like, and I think I mentioned this sometime in season 1, where I was literally just by myself. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I've already watched all the Netflix that I can. I've already binged everything that I can. I've already done my work. Like, I'm those people who like when I put my attention into my work and I just give it 4 hours, I'm literally done for the day. So I have so much time like, left to watch TV, Netflix away. And I think during COVID is when conversations about like being conscious about how people are feeling, people were dying, we were all scared. And I think it kind of made me feel like, okay, there's more to life than just me handling like bespoke brands. Like, at some point the parties got boring, hanging out with, people got boring, and I was like my soul was needing more, like something deeper. And I think that's when I started watching. I think I've spoken all about this, Ian Levanzant and Steve Harvey and Oprah. And I started watching Pastor Mike Todd, Transformation Church, and Steve Furtick and TD Jakes and Sarah Jakes. Like I really, really started going into the depths of who I am and not just being this surface level babe who is into like, oh, where are we going on Saturday? Well, I mean, you couldn't go anywhere, but like, what are we drinking? Or what, like I was really, really basic, honestly. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I was very, very basic. But deep down, I knew I had a calling that I was completely ignorant, like completely ignorant of that calling. And I was always like, I'm not a church babe. I'm not those people. But at some point, your calling will reach to you and you're going to have to just follow it because it's something that you've been called to do. You're going to have to do it. Right. So I said, okay, fine. So I say, let me look for a headhunter because at that time, well, there were no really gigs. Musicians were not really making that much money. The media space was not very stable. I was like, maybe this is not the right time to leave my marketing career. And at that time, branding was going up and up and up. So I felt like, well, I've already put in all this work. I might as well go into like executive marketing and brand, leadership roles. So I ended up looking for a headhunter, and I told her, okay, I've been doing all of this bespoke marketing and branding. Let me do something that's a little bit more like, like giving back. So I started working with farmers, with smallholder farmers in particular. Um, and then after that, I ended up working in an American nonprofit that handles and works with design thinking. So that was literally my last corporate gig that I left in May, right? So I'm going to say this to say I know how it feels like to be let go from a role, and I know how it feels like to leave a role willingly. So, one, when you're let go, you're basically being told, goodbye, we don't need you no more. And then the second part is you're the one saying, goodbye, I don't need you guys no more. So, I've been in both instances from a corporate point of view. And the feeling that I felt in both instances was the relief that I was leaving. Just that, like, just that sigh, like, oh my God, I'm finally done with this role. So I can now push forward to become the singer I know myself to be, the journalist I know myself to be. The other day someone told me, hey, Noni, I feel like if you stuck with it, you would have been a star by now. Someone told me that, and I was like, I literally had no words. I didn't know if I should smack them in the face or like be like, "Enyewe, like you're actually right. And it's actually true because some of the folks that I started like music with right now are like topping the charts on Spotify or Apple Music, which is my fave. But then also there's the conversation of maybe perhaps just wasn't your time, it was their time, and then now it's your time, right? I mean, with any like the universe abhors a void, so there's never going to be a void at any one time. So there's someone somewhere who's leaving, let's say, their music career, and then like the universe doesn't like a void. So perhaps it's now my time to fill it. So there's like a beautiful constant flow of like energy and like energy and consistency. So I thought about it. I thought about what that person told me, and I said, perhaps this is now my time to do it. Perhaps if I would have done it then, I wouldn't have gone far, or I would have been, swayed by whatever perks come with, being a musician or a journalist or in the limelight. And I wouldn't have had enough grounding to help me become the person that I am right now. Because right now I'm not a fickle person. I'm not really swayed with like fecal things like who knows who and yada yada yada. I don't even like the term celebrity. I always just say like, you're just more known in the public than most people are. And I think I decided finally that I was going to leave my 9 to 5 last year in October is when I decided I needed to leave. So by this time I feel like I had already like saved enough money for the transition. So, for you to transition, first of all, one of the things that you really have to put into consideration is finances, especially if you live by yourself. If you're supported by a family or a spouse, a partner, I think it's a little bit easier, but it's also going to put a strain on them. So, I would say if you're looking to transition, first thing that has to come in mind is finances. So you need to have saved up for, someone told me, make sure you've saved up for 6 months in advance from the moment that you leave your job or your whatever career you're in. Um, but then I thought about it and I said, you know what, I'm going to save even more. Like I'm going to make sure my finances are in check for almost a year and a half. So I really cut down in on a lot of costs that I would make. Like if I would go shopping, I would cut down the cost into half. if I would go out, I'd cast down the frequency into half. And it was basically just like I'm just funding my dream. I always talk about Lisa Nichols, amazing, amazing life coach, who is my digital life coach, and we just so happen to have the same name. Lisa Nichols had this fund that she would send to her bank every month, and she named it "My Funding My Dream." Like that was the name of the account, "Funding My Dream." And every month she'd put aside a certain percentage of the salary that she got. So if, let's say, for instance, she puts aside 10% of her salary, the next month she ups it to like 12%. The next month she ups it to like 13%. And it becomes something that's like so vicious and so like you become like a go-getter. Like I'm funding my dream, I'm funding my dream, I'm funding my dream. Yeah. So that by the time you've given yourself a head start, so that by the time you're getting to where you want to go, you've already saved a lot, like, or rather enough to get you to where you need to be, so that when you do leave, now you're not starting to look for like finances that are going to help you like take you to wherever you want to go. You know you've already sorted that out, right? So finances for me was pretty easy. I already had a salary. So I knew that I had to set aside, and I set aside a substantial amount to just help me be able to be like set. And then another thing that I really did was I bought stuff that I knew I would need later on, so that I didn't like the cash that I would be having was basically for like survival, like my rent and my food, like keeping the lights on, bills and utilities, taking me to and fro. So if I knew I needed clothes for then, I put that fund aside. So like my fund was literally, this fund is for clothes, this fund is for investing in whatever I want to invest in, whether it's podcasting, whether it's music, whether it's like going for concerts. And I had another fund for like clothes and makeup and wigs, honey. And then I had another fund for like self-care. Self-care is a must. So I had already planned, this is gonna cost X amount, X amount, X amount, X amount, and I had already planned by October. But then now I started therapy last year in October, and I needed to get myself emotionally prepared for me to make this shift, because I was shifting from a corporate mindset into a creative mindset. And that sounds easy, even if you're a creative, but it's really not. It's an entire identity shift. And later on in the season 2, we're going to be talking about identity shifts and like small habits, atomic habits that you can take in order for you to become this whole new transformed person, right? So now I knew I needed to get like an emotional capacity to be able to get to where I want to go. So like how do I do that, right? And so in came therapy, and I needed to understand, why have I been so scared and so afraid to make this move? I've tried to make this move 4 times unsuccessfully. So basically this was like my fifth time's a charm, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I needed help. And I think when I realized that I need help, that was like the shifting point, like the aha moment for me, because I knew the moment I ask for help, then it's a game changer. Like no one is going to like shake me or change my mind, or because it's already been set. So in comes Lucy, my therapist, and we're going to be having Lucy also on the podcast this season. Excited about that. But basically, what Lucy did for me is, we went to the wounding. I had a wounding in me that was basically asking, what is the block? What is blocking you from pursuing your passion and pursuing your dreams? What is the block? And I went round and round and round and round, like Tetu song, round and round and round and round. And then eventually she just told me, you don't believe in yourself. And that was it. It was really as simple as that. You just don't believe in yourself. And so the work now was, how do we build you up to believe in your dreams? Because you've wanted this since you were 4 years old. And now I was 30. That's literally a space of 26 years. Can you imagine having 26 years of not believing in yourself? But you're moving like you're believing like in yourself. You're moving like you believe in yourself. You're working like you believe in yourself. You show up to work every day like you believe in yourself, but you're showing up as you don't really, truly, deeply, innately believe in you? So when I tell you I used to cry. All those therapy sessions, I would cry because I was like, how do we even do that? How do we even start that? And basically she gave me skills, speak positively about yourself. Question some of these negative thoughts that you have. For instance, one negative thought that I always had was, am I really gonna be able to sustain myself in this industry? And the truth of the matter is, I knew that I was going to be able to sustain myself, but it just would take me to have a different perspective. Maybe the way that I was used to going at it, because how you sustain yourself in corporate is basically you show up every day, you do the work you've been told to do, and then you earn a salary, right? Really as simple as that. In creative, it's a little different. You create content and then you shop that content to various partners. You do a lot of BD, business development, on yourself. So now you're the brand, you're the product, you're the service, you're the item. And then in that way, you open doors. And then as you're opening doors, other people are seeing you and they're like, that person is kind of interesting. I want to work with them. And then they come to you. So it's like the possibilities are literally endless. And that's why it's so vast. It's so ambiguous as to how you can make money, but it's a trial and error. So you try X, it works. Don't break what works. Continue with it. If you hit a like a block on the way, figure out how do we navigate this to get to where we want to go. Another way I've understood that works very well in creative is the power of community, showing up more around the people who are doing what you're doing, introducing yourself to them, and then becoming like kind of like a peer. In some instances, you even end up getting new friends because they invite you to stuff, and then those new friends invite you to something else, and then those new other friends invite you to something else. I've also learned something very interesting in this transition that I've done is create in the creative world, like they love your authenticity, who you really are. In corporate, I'm sorry to say it doesn't work that way. Corporate likes you to basically present the values of the organization, not who you are. Nobody cares. No one gives a damn about who you are in corporate. Even if you go to like the most, we take care of our employees and we, how like those little value systems that organization, okay, they're not little, but value systems that organizations have, like, we take care of our employees and we make them, we're like a family. There's no such thing as family in corporate. Literally the other day, my friend was telling me how he's so gutted because he's going to have to let go of four people who are taking up 40% of the entire HR pay budget. And I was like, can you imagine last week you were being told how, oh my God, we're a family. And then the next week you're being told, yeah, we don't need you no more. You're taking up 40% of our budget, you know? And so the guy was actually asking me to, like, I don't know, feel empathy for him because he was going to be the one telling them to go home. And I told him, but I've been on the other side of the table because usually it happens in like, a meeting, I'm assuming. I've been on the other side where I'm being told we don't need your services anymore, you know? And so I told him, please don't expect these people to be like, oh, I'm so grateful to have worked here. Thank you so much. Nah, they're going to be like, F all of you. Goodbye. Good riddance. And I deserve more. In fact, if anything, I was wasting my time and my talent here, you know? And I usually just see like all these weird TikTok videos where guys are making fun of like their experiences in the workplace. And I think it's just because they just chose careers that they didn't want, they didn't like. Because I feel deeply that when you choose a career path that you truly deeply love, respect, and you want to grow in, you're not going to complain about it. Even in the organization that I worked in, all across the board, all across all the four companies that I've worked in, there are people who used to like come to the organization and show up, and they're super happy, and you can see like they're so excited to be there. It's a brand new beautiful day. I get to do what I want to do. I am so happy. And then there are just people like me who would just show up, and I'd just be like, what am I doing here? Like, what in the hell am I doing here? The only day I was happy was the payday. Only. That was the only day like I was happy was either when we were getting paid or if there was an event. Obviously I was in marketing, so I was the one if like preparing the event. But, I just look back and I'm like, I really wasted so much time pursuing something that I hated. Not really even hated. I feel like hate is a strong word. Pursuing something that I was so indifferent towards. It's like dating a guy just because he's a guy. It's like I'm just dating Francis because I need to date a man, you know? But you don't care about Francis. You don't care about his family, his value system, where he goes for lunch. And I was the exact same. So do I part of my accountability, do I need to perhaps apologize for the organizations that I was in? I feel to some extent yes, because in as much as I came up and I showed up and I did my best, and I was actually pretty good at it, because I ended up even like working in top marketing positions. Like right now, if I was to get a marketing job, I would get like a really good role somewhere, like really, really good, like sorted everything. But am I willing to risk my soul for it? Risk wasting more time? Because I'm not getting younger. I'm already in my 30s. I need to be like laser focused, like a funnel, like laser focused on where I want to go, what I want to do. And I think if anything, I think my mom gave me very good advice the other day. She said, I've been praying for you to succeed in whatever it is that you need and want to succeed in. And that is so freeing for a parent to tell a child, because it means that you have the blessing to do and focus on that which brings you happiness and joy. And not just that, in a way that it can sustain you, and not just sustain you just for survival purposes, but like sustain you to really be happy and glow and create time for like life and self-care and have fun with your friends and be actually truly happy. And I'm realizing how I was so sad looking back. I used to like the good thing though is that all the roles I would apply for were hybrid. So I didn't necessarily have to be there. This is post COVID. I didn't necessarily have to be there 8 to 5 every single day or 9 to whatever time every single day. Like I was very keen because I knew like I needed to first break down in the morning so that I could get myself up, do a quick face beat, and then show up later on in the afternoon. And I think sometimes my colleagues will look at me like, why is this girl so dolled up? And I think looking back, I'm realizing that it was just my way of trying to like psych myself up for this role because I would go back home and I would literally throw my laptop under the seat, under the chair. I didn't want to see it. I didn't even want to know where it was. So the next day in the morning when I'm starting my work day, I'd be literally knees on my carpet looking under my sofas to figure out where the hell is my laptop. That's how much I hated it. I never even used, you know how guys use their work laptops for like personal stuff, like to be on Facebook and Instagram. Literally, my work laptop was for work, and I had my personal laptop for my personal stuff. I didn't even want to mix the two. And I'm looking back and I'm like, it was really depressing. And I think that's probably why I used to go out so much. And now that I've shifted into the creative space, I hang out with some of the friends like I used to hang out with, and I look at them and they're like they're literally like going on and off, like just drinking and gobbling it up. And I'm like, wow, that used to be me, you know? Literally to the point where now I'm helping you get home safely because you're so stressed, you have no idea like how to figure life out, you know? And I think it's even more stressful when you work for like an international organization because there's high stakes and you're trying to become this person and you're trying to BS your way through and you're trying to like project this person. You know how in the website when they're showing the team and then you have this beautiful corporate, well lit portrait photo of you and you look at that picture and you're like, that is not me. This is just me just BSing my way through this corporate life, you know? And I'm really, really happy that I made the transition. I really am. And I think the most hardest thing I had to do was emotionally transition. And also allowing myself to rest because we really don't know how to rest. That was hard for me. Waking up in the morning and I'm like, what am I doing today? And God literally tells me you're going to rest. And I'm like, what does rest look like? I literally had to Google what to do in your resting period. I had no idea what to do. So thankfully my family was visiting from the UK. I hosted them. That took a while. I went on a vacation with my mom for 2 weeks. That was mad fun. Obviously went back to Embu. I love the greenery and the lavender and the jacaranda that happens there. I visited my friends. I christened my little nephew. Celebrated my dad's 70th birthday. And I just felt like I'm making more time for the people who matter in my life. And that was very, very freeing. So that's some of the things that I did when I was resting. I stayed away from LinkedIn. I really did because I didn't want to see posts surrounding like my colleagues. I just didn't want that energy. Not to say that I have anything against my ex colleagues. They were amazing people. They still are. We're still tight till date. But I just needed to like just avoid that space. I hang out more with creatives, attended more concerts, released my music, working on collaborations right now as we speak. I've learned how to position myself as a brand. Probably the easiest, hardest, and fun thing to do is positioning yourself as a brand. So, like, so who are you? You know? Whereas in the past, I was positioning brands, you know, to another brand. It was like B2B. But now it's no need to be, you know? So that's been very interesting. Figuring out my worth. What is my worth? Financially speaking, if you're to work with, you know, a sponsor or a brand, what's your worth, you know, and what's your value capacity? Some of the conversations that I'm having now, I had to get a team for my music, partnering with Sema Box, for instance, for my podcast. Um, what else have I done so far? and obviously launching my content, and then being comfortable with the fact that I'm being so vulnerable and releasing all of this to the public for people to see. That's been very interesting, and people coming back and telling me, that episode where you did da 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 da, I really didn't like align with it, or someone coming and telling me, hey, the fact that you even talk about vulnerability when it comes to men, that's wild. The other day I was at a hotel doing my monthly. I usually have my solo. This is another thing I've come up with. My solo monthly business meeting. You know how like so what I've done is I've taken some of the skills and some of the tasks that we used to do in corporate, where you would have like a weekly meet with your team, and then you have a monthly like projection to see how the future is going to look like, and taking analytics and data from the past, and kind of figuring out where are we going for the future. So that's something that I've made for myself. I meet with myself for a business lunch, a solo business lunch at a fancy hotel, and I sit with myself and I write down, these are my goals and this is what I want to do. These are people I need to knock doors on, and I have to be okay with someone saying no. And I've worked in marketing, so a no will always turn into a maybe, and a maybe can always turn into a yes. So it's just about, having patience. So also learning to have patience, and learning to perhaps understand that you might not get um, X amount of money you used to earn every month for a gig, probably less, probably a whole zero less. So if you used to earn like, let's say randomly 100,000, you should be okay with earning 10,000. Yeah. Or vice versa. If you used to earn 10K, you might as well just um times 10 whatever you can earn. It's such a vague industry that's just full of so many possibilities, is basically what I'm trying to say. And then another thing that I was saying when I went for my solo business lunch, I saw this lady. I think she was like the manager of the hotel. She kept looking at me, and I was like, perhaps she's probably just making sure if I don't know my food is right, if I need another drink. You know how like just hospitality, how they take care of like their patrons or their guests. And then she finally came up to me and she's like, "Hi, Noni," and I'm like, "Hi." And then she says, "I've been listening to your podcast. I think you're really, really amazing. What you're doing is brilliant." And I was just so scared to come up and talk to you about it, but I just thought, why not? Because I probably might not be able to meet with you again or see you again. And I thought that was so interesting, like randomly meeting the most, like someone I would never even have thought of, a whole hotel manager. That was wild to me. That's that's one of the like musings that I'm starting to get. Or someone telling you, "Oh, you look very familiar. You're the girl with the blonde hair." And I think in my music I have like blonde hair. I think that's like the Noni music brand is like blonde, like Noni Blondie. And then the podcasting brand is more feminine, and purple is like the brand color. So those are some of the musings that I've gotten so far. And I really hope that it kind of helps you in some way or the other to help you in your transition. And then as I finish, I just want to read something. I've been reading this book, Michelle Obama, The Light That We Carry, and it's really, really helped me in my transition. And there's something that she says where she says, as you transition, it's okay to pace yourself, get a little rest, speak of your struggles out loud, and prioritize your wellness and make a habit of rest and repair. And I also find that it can be useful to break down those gigantic all or nothing goals into their small component parts. It only takes a small step to get to where you want to get. So I hope that's helped someone somewhere out there. And it's really, really good to be back. Please make sure that you follow me. Follow me on all my socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify at the Plunge Podcast, and on my personal pages at Noni Mugera. Signing out, and I hope that you have the confidence to follow your dreams and your passion. Love you. Bye.